Glycolysis is the conversion of glucose into pyruvate. This process is taking place universally in the cytoplasm of all living organisms, starting from the earliest of the microbes to the most advanced human beings. This is actually indicating that all these living organisms have a common ancestry, especially because all the enzymes and the metabolic raw materials and byproducts and the final product all are the same in all these organisms. This process does not involve oxygen, therefore it is possible even in the anaerobic organisms. Actually, in the anaerobic conditions, this is the only source of energy for organisms. Even when the higher organisms like human beings and other mammals are carrying out their metabolism under extreme conditions of absence of oxygen, we are depending upon this pathway for getting the small amount of energy that is possible to release by this process. Commercially, this process is of utmost importance because the product of glycolysis, which is pyruvate, may be further metabolized by some organisms such as yeast, etc., to produce ethanol, which is of industrial importance. Glucose is playing a central role in our metabolism. From the stored resources, glucose is formed from glycogen and also by the breakdown of proteins etc. by means of gluconeogenesis. Also, glucose is the end product of digestion of carbohydrate present in our diet. When there is more glucose released in our body from the stored materials, that glucose is transported to the blood to meet the requirements of the body in the production of energy. At the same time, when we get more carbohydrate by means of our diet, that means when the influx is more, that glucose is either converted into glycogen for storage or converted into pyruvate for the release of energy. It is not mentioned here that from the breakdown of glucose, acetyl coenzyme A is produced, which may be converted into fatty acids and other lipids which are stored in the body for future use. Therefore, glucose is playing a central role in our energy metabolism. In glycolysis, the 6-carbon compound glucose is converted into 2 molecules of 3-carbon compound pyruvate. Also, NAD+, which is a hydrogen carrier, is reduced to NADH, which under aerobic conditions may give rise to ATP molecules. Also, 4 molecules of ATP are produced from 1 molecule of glucose, but actually 2 ATP molecules are consumed in the earlier stages, so we may say the net output of ATP is 2 in the case of glycolysis.
Glycolysis, as you know, occurs in the cytoplasm of all living organisms, including bacteria, fungus, protozoans, and the plants and animals. And the metabolic pathways are common to all these organisms. It is indicating a common ancestry of organisms. You might have heard of biochemical evidences of evolution. So this is an example for a biochemical evidence for evolution. And oxygen is not involved in the process. So it is purely anaerobic in nature. And it is utilizing glucose. Glycolysis means breakdown of glucose. So this is utilizing glucose molecules. And that means almost all of the organisms on the earth are capable of utilizing glucose as their source of energy. And whatever food material we are consuming, for example, uh, starchy materials, etc., Upon digestion, they are producing glucose. Of course, exceptions are there. Lipids or oils are not producing glucose upon digestion, and the proteins are not directly giving rise to glucose, but indirectly sometimes they are giving rise to glucose. And unfortunately, this glycolysis is giving only a very small amount of energy. That means most of the energy is remaining intact in the product of the pathway, and it has a lot of commercial applications as well. In the fermentation process, when you are making dosha etc. in your home, actually we are the organism in that dough is carrying out fermentation. You might have heard of alcohol industry etc. For example, ethanol industry. Those industries are actually making use of glycolysis. And this glycolysis consists of two stages. In the first stage, energy is utilized, and in the second stage, energy is released. Let us see those stages in detail in the coming slides.
Glycolysis may conveniently be divided into two phases or two stages. The stage which consumes energy and the stage which releases energy. In the first phase, two molecules of ATP are consumed in successive stages so that a high energy compound is produced. It is then broken down into two molecules of three carbon compounds, which are dihydroxyacetone phosphate and glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Thereafter, there is the payoff phase or energy conserving phase in which NADH plus H plus is produced and also ATP molecules are produced. Glycolysis begins with the phosphorylation of glucose utilizing ATP to form glucose 6-phosphate. The low energy glucose is converted into a molecule with more energy, which is glucose 6-phosphate. And magnesium ions are required for the enzyme, which may be hexokinase or glucokinase, catalyzing this reaction. Apart from the priming stage, the first reaction, that is phosphorylation of glucose, has one more purpose. Once the glucose molecule is phosphorylated within the cytoplasm of the cell, it cannot escape through the membrane to the outer sides of the cell. So it is practically localized within the cytoplasm so that it is available for further chemical reactions. Apart from its role in glycolysis, glucose 6-phosphate can have a variety of functions in the cell. You can see from the diagram that it is the starting material for the pentose phosphate pathway, the pathway by which different carbon skeletons are interchanged into each other, and also by which 5 carbon sugars are produced, and also NADPH plus H plus are produced within the cell. It also may be converted into glucose 1-phosphate, which in turn is used for the synthesis of glycogen and also carbohydrates precursors for the other molecules.
In this reaction, look here, in the first molecule, phosphate is on carbon number 6 of glucose, while in the product molecule, it is on carbon number 6, but what's the difference? It is a fructose. So in the first molecule, in the reactant or in the substrate, it was a glucose 6-phosphate, but the product is a fructose 6-phosphate. That means glucose is isomerized to fructose. So this is an isomerization reaction, and the enzyme is phosphoglucoisomerase. Look here, phosphoglucoisomerase catalyzes isomerization of glucose 6-phosphate into fructose 6-phosphate.
This is the second reaction of glycolysis during which ATP is utilized. Fructose 6-phosphate is converted into fructose 1,6-bisphosphate. utilizing ATP, and the enzyme is phosphofructokinase. Kinases require magnesium ions. With this step, investment of energy is completed in glycolysis. Now, with this, two molecules of ATP are utilized with one molecule of glucose, forming a high energy compound fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. Phosphofructokinase is an allosteric enzyme. The allosteric modulator is ATP. When there is a high concentration of ATP in the cell, it means that this glycolytic pathway should be slowed down in order to avoid any unwanted synthesis of ATP. Therefore, ATP binds with the enzyme phosphofructokinase at its allosteric site, and this reduces affinity of the enzyme for its substrate, which is fructose 6-phosphate. Ultimately, glycolysis is slowed down. This state will continue until the concentration of ATP reaches a certain minimum value.
In this reaction, fructose 1,6 bisphosphate, a 6-carbon compound, is cleaved into two molecules of 3-carbon compounds. What's the reactant? Look there, the first molecule it is fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. What are the products? First product is dihydroxyacetone phosphate, DHAP, and the other one is glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, G3P. And let us come back to fructose 1,6 bisphosphate. This molecule consists of two phosphates. First one is on carbon number 1 and the second one is on carbon number 6. Why is it a bisphosphate? We never write it as a diphosphate. This is a bisphosphate because the phosphates are on different carbon atoms. They are not on the same carbon atom. While if the phosphate molecules were on the same carbon atom, I mean if the first phosphate is attached onto a carbon and if the second phosphate is attached onto the first phosphate, then we would have used the term diphosphate. For example, adenosine diphosphate, ADP, you might have heard of it. Okay. And dihydroxyacetone phosphate is a ketone. It's a keto compound, you know that. And phosphate is on carbon number 1. And as is clear from the name, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate has phosphate on carbon number 3. And these molecules are also intermediates. Therefore, one glucose molecule yields two molecules of 3-carbon compounds. And what's the name of the enzyme? Aldolase. Fructose bisphosphate aldolase is the enzyme. And is this reaction endergonic or exergonic? Look at the sign of delta G0, 23.9 kilojoule per mole. It is having a positive sign. What does it mean? Energy should be put into the system. Is it exergonic or endergonic? In chemistry, you might have studied two terms, exothermic and endothermic. Can you tell me which term is applicable here?
The dihydroxyacetone phosphate formed by the cleavage of fructose 1,6 bisphosphate is converted into, or better we say isomerized into, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. It is this glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate that continues the process of glycolysis. Accordingly, more and more of the dihydroxyacetone phosphate is converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. In this reaction, an aldehyde is converted into an acid. Therefore, this is an oxidation reaction. Glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is oxidized by the removal of electrons. to 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate or glyceric acid. The removed electrons are carried by NAD+, thereby forming NADH plus H+. In this case, or in this reaction, an inorganic phosphate is added so that the product formed is having two phosphate groups upon it. The NADH formed may have a variety of functions. Sometimes it may be utilized in the same reaction. Then we call it fermentation, either lactic acid fermentation or alcohol fermentation. Or if there is oxygen available, then it may be transported to the mitochondrion for the generation of ATP. This is the first stage in glycolysis where ATP is formed. 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate reacts with ADP and the enzyme is phosphoglycerate kinase. Kinases require magnesium ions. The product is 3-phosphoglycerate and ATP. That means phosphate group from carbon number 1 is transferred to ADP, forming ATP. Since one molecule of glucose is giving rise to two molecules of 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate, this reaction takes place 2 times. Therefore, we should calculate that 2 ATPs are formed at this stage from one molecule of glucose.
In this reaction, phosphate group is shifted from carbon number 3 to carbon number 2. So you see the substrate is 3-phosphoglycerate, which means there is a phosphate group on carbon number 3 of glycerate molecule. While the product is 2-phosphoglycerate, which means there is a phosphate group on carbon number 2 of the glycerate molecule. So here the parent molecule is not undergoing any isomerization. Instead, a functional group is transferred from one carbon to another. So the enzyme is a mutase, phosphoglycerate mutase. Phosphoglycerate mutase catalyzes a phosphoryl transfer. That is the title of this slide. In this reaction, 2-phosphoglycerate is undergoing dehydration. What's meant by the term dehydration? Removal of water. What's the enzyme? The enzyme is enolase. So enolase is resulting in the formation of PEP, phosphoenol pyruvate. So 2-phosphoglycerate is acted upon by the enzyme enolase, resulting in the formation of phosphoenol pyruvate and water. Why magnesium 2 plus ions are written on the arrow mark? Because for this enzyme enolase, magnesium 2 plus ions are actually cofactors. Of course, in a previous class we have heard about cofactors, coenzymes, etc. This is not a coenzyme since it is not an organic molecule. This is merely a mineral ion. So we say this is a cofactor only.
This is the last phase of glycolysis. In this stage, phosphate group is removed from phosphoenol pyruvate and it is added to ADP forming ATP. The other product is pyruvate. In this stage also, we should calculate that 2 molecules of ATP are formed from one molecule of glucose. That means totally 4 ATPs are produced. But already 2 ATPs are consumed during the priming stages. Therefore, the net yield of ATP from one molecule of glucose when it is converted into 2 molecules of pyruvate is 2. What happens to the pyruvate once it is formed in the cytoplasm by glycolysis? Under aerobic conditions, this glycolysis is acted upon by pyruvate dehydrogenase complex and is transformed into acetyl coenzyme A, which enters into tricarboxylic acid cycle and generates NADH plus H plus and FADH2. These two molecules are then entering into the electron transport chain for the generation of ATP. In anaerobic conditions, depending upon the organism and the cell, it may be converted either into lactate or into ethanol. In mammalian muscles, when hard exercise is going on, physical activity is going on, this pyruvate combines with the NADH molecule earlier formed in the same pathway, producing lactic acid. This lactic acid accumulation leads to muscle fatigue. In the case of yeast, since oxygen is not used, this pyruvate combines with the NADH molecule earlier formed in the same pathway, generating ethanol and carbon dioxide. This is of utmost commercial importance because ethanol is used in the beverages and many other industries and also in the baking industries.
Fate of pyruvate in anaerobic conditions. Earlier you have seen that once pyruvate is formed in glycolysis, it may enter either into aerobic metabolic pathway or into anaerobic metabolic pathway. In anaerobic metabolic pathway, depending upon the organism, it has different effects. For example, in our muscles, lactic acid is produced. But in the case of yeast, it is producing ethanol, ethyl alcohol. And ethyl alcohol is industrially a very much important product. It is a solvent, it's a raw material, and it's used as a beverage to a great extent. And industrially, it's a very much important product. So in this section, we are going to see how ethanol is being produced in yeast. Here, but in this slide, what you see is a pathway that is beginning from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. You forget it for the time being, you come to pyruvate. This pyruvate is decarboxylated by the enzyme pyruvate decarboxylase. What is produced is acetaldehyde. You can see it at the right bottom corner. Pyruvate is decarboxylated and it is producing acetaldehyde. Of course, the enzyme is decarboxylase, pyruvate decarboxylase. And thereafter, acetaldehyde is acted upon by alcohol dehydrogenase enzyme and ethanol is produced. So from pyruvate, by a two-step reaction, ethanol is produced. But the fact is that conversion of aldehyde into alcohol is a reduction reaction. Acetaldehyde is converted into ethanol. It is a reduction reaction. Reduction is addition of hydrogen. So here hydrogen atoms are added to acetaldehyde in the form of NADH plus H plus. What does it mean? NADH plus H plus is a coenzyme for alcohol dehydrogenase. This NADH plus H plus is donating two hydrogen atoms and aldehyde becomes alcohol. By the loss of the two hydrogen atoms, NADH plus H plus becomes NAD plus. Now, how is this NADH plus H plus formed in the same pathway? In the previous slides, you have studied glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate is converted into 1,3-bisphosphoglycerate. In that reaction, NADH plus H plus is produced. So, that NADH is utilized in the case of alcohol formation. That's why in this slide you see the pathway begins from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Actually, alcohol is formed from acetaldehyde, which in turn is formed from pyruvate. Okay. And now, in which part of the cell is the reaction taking place? All the anaerobic pathways are always taking place in the cytoplasm. You know that yeast is a eukaryote. Of course, it is a single-celled eukaryote. But these pathways are taking place in the cytoplasm. Anaerobic pathways are always taking place in the cytoplasm. And ethanol is produced. This ethanol is purified and it is converted into different products depending upon the purpose of this industrial application. Coming back on the right side, you can see a figure in which you can see grapes. Grapes are used to produce wine, etc. Or different fruits are produced. Sometimes grains are produced. They are produced and used to produce alcohol. Now we will see what happens in mammalian muscles. Under anaerobic conditions, pyruvate is converted into lactic acid, lactate, in our muscles. On the right hand side, you can see an athlete. Athlete is working very hard, physical work is there. This is a good example. In her muscles, actually now pyruvate is being converted into lactic acid. Or you can think about a predator running behind a prey, tiger, lion, etc. running behind their prey. So both are running very fast. Naturally, lactic acid is being produced in their muscles. Accumulation of lactic acid will lead to muscle fatigue. Or if you climb a staircase very fast, if you are in a hurry, in a few seconds you will feel some difficulty in the muscles of your leg. It's because of muscle fatigueness due to lactic acid production. Let us see how is this taking place. Just as in the case of the previous slide, let us begin from pyruvate. Pyruvate is acted upon by lactate dehydrogenase to produce lactic acid. This also is a reduction reaction. For the reduction, hydrogen atoms are donated by NADH plus H plus, which in turn regenerate NAD plus. And this NADH is generated from glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, as in the case of the formation of alcohol. And where is the reaction taking place? In the cytoplasm of the cell. And this is taking place in almost all mammals. And you know that this is a life-saving mechanism as well, because when a prey is confronting a predator, it has to run away, it has to save its life. So this is a life-saving adaptation for many of the animals. And later, this lactic acid is entering into blood circulation. It is carried to the liver, where it is converted back into pyruvate. So this lactic acid is not permitted to accumulate in the circulation or in the tissues.